I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. My guest today is Mike Tetreau, who is a Vistage chair in the New York metropolitan area, but really on the Connecticut side of the border. We won't hold it against him. There is I would be remiss if I didn't start by asking you about the simple yet profound principle that guides that guides you professionally. Can we talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. It's one part of my parents' philosophy and how they raised us. Another part of life lessons. But my goal is really to continue to give back to my community and make a difference in the lives of the people around me. And that's one of my focal points, and that's my guiding principle.
How did you now? How long have you been a Vistage chair?
Actually, 4 years this month.
4 years. And before that, I understand you were actually the mayor, or not the mayor. You got a fancier word for it, the First Selectman, which
Yes,
is like a mayor but better, I guess.
well, it's a
And
New England term, and you don't really hear it outside of New England, but a lot of the smaller towns in New England have a board of selectmen, 3 to 5 residents typically, that serve as the executive authority for the town. The chairman of that, or the lead, is the first selectman, and that's typically the one paid and full-time position. The others are typically volunteer positions.
so you were the most important guy in Fairfield, Connecticut for 2 terms.
I had my 15 minutes of fame through Storm Sandy,
Oh wow.
through Storm Nemo, which was a 3-foot snowstorm with 5-foot drifts, through a Metro North train crash, through the tragedy at Sandy Hook, which didn't happen in
Oh
our town, but was a couple towns over.
yes.
And we had a swatting incident, which is where some bad actors say they have guns and bombs and are coming after your schools.
Right.
And we had some budget challenges with the state where they were cutting our funding. So it was a educational and challenging time through that, but rewarding nonetheless.
I can only imagine, and but I can't think of a job that you could have done that better personifies the goal for yourself that you just stated, and so you're really living it.
Yep, especially in a town you grew up in. And my dad was a teacher and football coach at one of the high schools. And so I knew a lot of the teachers. I knew a lot of the town employees from some of my volunteer work, but also because so many of them knew my dad. So it's very much a small town in that sense.
What was the path that, because as I understand it, even being we'll just call it mayor because it's easier to say. Even that wasn't sort of like on the trajectory, that was sort of a different career as well. So
No,
I would love to hear about the process that led you from being a professional and being a turnaround executive, which is a very special kind of professional, to being the mayor, to now running Vistage groups.
wow, it's been an interesting journey, and it's. I'd like to tell you that there was some sort of plan in all of it, but there wasn't. It was kind of one step at a time.
Right.
But it's interesting in terms of the preparation that it's given me for if you look at leading a Vistage group with 12 or 14 members with a wide variety of industries, because they're all non-competing members.
Correct.
It's actually given me a good foundation. I have an engineering degree out of school, but I never really practiced as an engineer. My first job was in consulting in New York City for Anderson Consulting, the folks who eventually became Accenture.
Yes. And we remember why they changed their name.
Yeah.
But
They
yes,
did that for 5 years and then left and eventually went to work for a small software company in Boston that sent me over to Europe to kind of be their initial sales effort and get things structured over there for them. I did that for 2 years and got a great awareness raising in cultures. And in Europe, you have every time you get off a plane, you have a different language, a different currency, but also a different culture. And the Europeans wear their cultures on their sleeve. You really have to be conscious of that in terms of how you communicate and in this case, the sales process you use.
and you ended up having a wide variety of international experience as well, beyond even Europe.
Well,
Um,
I've done a lot of scuba diving. That's taken me all over the world. And then one of my uh, later positions, I had responsibility for U.S., Canada, and European sales.
there you go. And then the scuba diver as well. You are truly a Renaissance man, and I appreciate that.
Well, either
So,
that or not good enough at any one thing to stay at it. But yes, one of the two.
hey, a Swiss Army knife is still a cool thing, and that's you're very well. The thing that I see in all of your stuff, and we've known each other a little bit through LinkedIn as well. I mean, you are actually the definition of a very well-rounded person. You've got a wide variety of interests. You've got this really diverse background of experience. And pardon me for saying so, but you're an interesting guy.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Tell
Thank
me
you.
about being a turnaround executive and how you developed that skill.
Well, it again, one of those things where you're kind of thrown in the deep end of the pool. I came back from Europe. A friend of mine from college was buying a company out in San Diego and needed somebody to run it. So he hired me to move out there and run a 4 location wholesale distribution company. Now, my job was sales were not going in the right direction. My
Okay.
predecessor was fired. So my job was to get things moving in the right direction. I kind of understood what would happen if I didn't. And spent, wow, 8 years in San Diego. Um, Doubled sales in that time. We had just a phenomenal time working with our customers, our employees, focused on service, providing measurably better service in an industry where we had no exclusives. We sold the same products as our competition. So we had to be better at service, and that's what we focused on. After 8 years there, I was hired by one of our vendors, manufacturing company, and I moved to Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Again, they had some new competitors on the market. My predecessor again was fired. And I had to get things moving in the right direction there. Spent a lot of time out working with our sales reps, out visiting customers to make sure they understand what we're doing, but also to make sure I understand what their needs were and to help with that communication process. The most common question I got from my friends at the time, because I was on airplanes so often, was, "Are you dating anybody? And is she in this time zone?" Um, so it really wasn't a good work-life balance. I
I
was
can
thoroughly
imagine.
enjoying it because the engineering me loved problem solving,
Right.
and it was another kind of turnaround in that sense. But I really didn't have much of a life outside of work. That was a strength in one regard because I could travel and work as much as I needed. But at some point, I felt like I needed a bit more to my life. So I ended up moving back to Connecticut, where I grew up. I got initially involved with my dad in real estate, but also got involved in things like volunteering at the Red Cross, and I was on their board of directors, uh, coaching with my dad at the local youth football program, and also with my brother.
Oh, very
So we had
cool.
fun with that. And then I got talked into getting on the planning and zoning board, which is not uh, a position that's in demand, if you will. So there wasn't like a long line of people. So they literally needed me to fill out the ballot, but I got elected. And that kind of started my path in elected politics.
And then you served as mayor, and what brought you to the world of Vistage after that?
Well, it when I finished up after 8 years, I was looking around for what do I do next. I had time to reflect, and that's why I really came to focus on my two guidelines, which are continue to make a difference in the community
Right.
and continue to make a difference in the lives of the people around you. The pandemic hit, so I'm not off at coffee shops networking anymore. I'm on my computer looking at LinkedIn, and a Vistage ad pops up. And it resonated because I was a member of a Vistage group when I ran my company in San Diego.
Oh, there you go. And Vistage also is from San Diego.
Yeah. So I knew what it was. I knew what it was from a member standpoint, and I jumped at the chance to start a group here in Connecticut. So I went through the Vistage certification process and pulled together my group in the middle of the pandemic, which
Which
was interesting.
I that's a word for it. I've talked to a couple of folks who actually started Vistage groups during the pandemic, and it it was a hell of a challenge.
Well, it's so much so, at least initially, I was put off by it and, thought maybe I'll wait until the pandemic's over before doing this. But Vistage talked me into it anyway. And what I found was that most folks were either in their office or at home, but near their cell phone so I could reach them.
Right.
Everybody learned how to Zoom. It wasn't something I was forcing on folks. So we all learned Zoom together. So that
Yep.
was now a common thing to do. And I had no travel time or wait time.
And
I
that's
wasn't sitting in a coffee shop waiting for somebody to show up. I wasn't sitting in your lobby waiting for you to come out of a meeting. And I wasn't driving to your office. So I actually had more time to help put the group together because of the pandemic, though I did not appreciate that at the time.
and you're right. And one thing that I don't think that I've connected the dots on is how available people were. You're absolutely correct. Everyone was at home and their phone was with them. And in so many ways, there were a lot of people just any excuse to connect with the outside world felt like a good idea. And yeah, you probably had
Yeah.
in some ways sort of a built-in advantage. Like you said, you wouldn't have appreciated at the time, but but yeah, I think you're right.
I'll try not to take that personally, that I was just any excuse not to
Oh,
give them something.
well, you know,
Yes.
um, it was a tough time for people to sort of feel human in the way that become accustomed to. You know, the idea that you
Well,
couldn't go and meet somebody for coffee or for a cocktail and sit and talk for an hour. It
and you're absolutely right. And looking back, we kind of know how the story ended. But
right.
when you're going through it, you don't know the end of the story yet. It's all for the first time. I did, by the way, get more of a life. I did get married, coming up on my seventh anniversary now.
Mazel tov.
And my wife and I survived, in our house, literally a year after getting married with, shut off from pretty much everybody
It,
else. So
no, it was legitimately tough. There was a lot of people not being able to make it work in those situations. There was stress, there was mental health issues. It was a really and of course with the Zoom thing, we went from conference calls to Star Trek, basically overnight, and we haven't gone back. I tell people how that it amazes me, for example, how much time I spend on camera in any given day, and it's sort of remarkable that this is actually how we communicate now.
yeah, Zoom calls are good for some things, not for
Yeah.
everything. And certainly our first few Vistage group meetings were on Zoom.
Yep.
And then we got to get together in person. And the two things you notice right away, the energy level in the room is just much higher.
Yes.
But then, second, the other comment from everybody was, I didn't know how tall you were. Zoom doesn't do height.
No, no. And you know what? I still get that when I meet people in person for the first time because new client, new whatever, we're meeting on Zoom a lot more frequently than in person for that sort of first meeting. So it is interesting. You're right. Um, So you started a Vistage group, and was it a CE group that was your first group?
Yes, yes. And then
And
just for the audience, that CE is the Vistage
chief
term for
executive.
CEO group.
Yep. So when you were starting your group and you're priming the pump for how difficult a process was it to get your first group going? And obviously COVID maybe obviously made things interesting.
It's definitely a challenge, and I think that it's definitely a grind. I mean, when you're starting from no members, you have to, Vistage isn't the most well-known concept. So you have to explain Vistage, explain who I am and what I'm up to,
Right.
and how the group's going to come together and how it's going to function when you can't really invite them to a group meeting to see it.
Right. They're
So
not going to get to experience that.
those were all challenges, but I think it fits a real need out there for CEOs that want to come together. I know that to this day in San Diego, I'm not sure how my chair got in front of me in my office. I have no idea how he navigated that to get there because it was hard to get there. And second, I'm not even sure what he said. I just knew when he described Vistage and the idea of getting together with fellow CEOs in the area to share best practices and to learn from each other, I just wanted in.
A lot of chairs will tell me that starting their first group was one of the hardest things that they ever did. And part of the reason behind that is that a lot of Vistage chairs never had a sales background, never did any sort of business development, and your experience was a little bit different. You had a lot of those things, and you also had the unique experience of actually getting people to vote for you besides. How did the experience of starting a Vistage group compare with those other sorts of challenges that you've had not only as an executive but also in politics?
I think very similar in the sense that uh, you're at some point getting out to people, explaining what the concept is,
Right.
and you realize not everybody's going to agree with you in the sense that not everybody's going to vote for you either.
Right.
So you just need to get out to everybody and give them a chance to hear your message and a chance to say yes or no. That's all. It's you can't always convince somebody what the right answer is, but it's much like doing turnarounds. When you're coming to a situation where you're going out to visit customers and they look at you and explain to you what bad service you've had, and
Right.
the issue is they're right. Now you have explained to them why it's going to be different,
Right.
and you have to get out there enough so they get a chance to see you uh, and start to see the turnaround in their own service levels take place.
What
So
have
it's
you?
much like
Go
when you're
ahead.
asking for donations for a nonprofit or any other cause like that. My philosophy was I always want to reach out to folks and give them a chance to say no. They said yes, that's the best world.
Right.
But I just want to make sure I get you and give you a chance to say no. If you're not interested, that's fine. We'll move on.
What have you learned since you've been a Vistage chair? What has the experience of running these groups taught you? What is this? How has this enriched your life experience?
It's amazing from that standpoint. I think about how much I've learned from our speakers, how much I've learned from our members. Um, the Because the members of the Vistage group are all successful,
Right.
right? They're joining Vistage so they can be more successful. It's much like a pro athlete. They don't get a personal coach so they can be successful. They're getting a pro coach so they can be even more successful and stay ahead of the competition. And
Yeah.
that's what Vistage is really good at, and that's what it provides the members. From my standpoint, I get, and the way I look at it, I've got 15 members in my CEO group. I get to join them on their journey of success. That's more success than I'd ever have alone. I
Right.
get 15 journeys to enjoy that, and I learn from each one of them as we do that.
What's the most profound thing that you've learned as a Vistage chair?
Wow. I don't know if there's one because every member and every company is different and their strengths are different. So I learn different things from each one of them. I guess the other way to look at that is I had so much to learn. There's not one thing I've learned a ton,
There you go.
but it's just one of the most enjoyable. experiences I've ever had. I come back from our group meetings, I'm really pumped. I come home to my wife and I'm excited to tell her about the fun I had that day.
That's awesome. So you've got your chief executive group, you've got a trusted advisor group,
Yes,
and you're starting a small business group. When
correct.
does the small business group get off the ground?
Well, I'm out talking to folks now, going through that build process.
Right?
I'm looking forward to launching in September.
Very cool. Very cool. And it's going to be here before you know it.
Yes, it is. It's amazing how fast that time goes because you're busy every day.
What's
But it
different? Oh,
also,
go ahead.
one of the
Sorry.
perks is you get to meet so many different people, whether they're interested in Vistage or not, and
Right.
not everybody is. But I find that I learn so much about different businesses, different people, what their challenges are. Um, and so it helps me keep my finger on the pulse of our local economy.
When you look at your three sort of different, all with a lot of connective tissue, but still three sort of different audiences that you're
Mhm.
dealing with in your own little Vistage community that you've built for yourself. What what do you find are the most striking differences as you're moving from group to group and talking to a different sort of type of person
Oh, I think there
or
are more
variant?
similarities. I think there are more similarities than differences. If I had to pick two key similarities, it's somebody that's interested in growing their business or their practice if they're a
Right.
professional service provider, but also realizing that in order to grow that business, they have to grow themselves. So they have that continuous learning is one of their core values. And that makes it fun because we get to learn together.
That is fun. I love that. Well, Mike, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you today. I really, really appreciate it. What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you if they're interested in Vistage, interested in your groups, contemplating a local political career? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I think LinkedIn provides a great opportunity to do that, and I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Also, you can reach out to me on email, um, which would be another easy way to get in touch with me, and that way we can connect back and forth.
We'll link to your email from the show notes so that people can grab that. And thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. I'm from the same general part of the country as you, so I love meeting people from the New York metro area, and thank you for being a great guest.
Well, it's great, and it's also great to meet another long-term New York Giant fan. So that's not always easy to find these
Well,
days.
I grew up a Giant fan. I since what happened is that I moved to Denver, and I said, and then people were like, well, you can become a Broncos fan now. I was like, okay, here's the deal. If you get rid of Tebow, I'll come on board. I'll be here for that. And then 2 weeks later, he was gone, and I said, all right, I've got to do it. So I've been a Broncos fan basically since I've lived in Denver, which is about 12 years. But the Giants are not an easy club to watch these days.
They've been painful for all except a few years over
Yes,
the last 50. Yes.
yes. Well, very good. Thank you so much for being a guest. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and this has been a lot of fun.
Same here. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
You got it. Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, and to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer, while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.